For months, the internet swore this movie was in trouble, too expensive, too late, too risky, and then it crossed $1 billion. Avatar Fire and Ash didn't just succeed, it proved that online narrative and real audience behavior living in two completely different worlds, people, because this keeps happening with Avatar. Every release gets questioned, doubted, and dragged, and every time the box office tells a very different story.
Are you not entertained?
All right, so here's the disconnect. Online, Avatar has been one of the loudest punching bags in modern blockbusters. People question the hype, the relevance, and even the fan base itself. Every release cycle turns into think pieces and timeline jokes. But outside the internet bubble, general audience keep showing up. Families, casual moviegoers, international markets. And with Fire and Ash crossing $1 billion, it's clear that the people buying tickets aren't having the same conversations the internet is having. This isn't about reviews or memes. It's about who actually shows up when the lights go on. So let's put this to you. Jump into the comments. Do you think the backlash around Avatar mostly exists online, or does it just not matter when general audience clearly enjoy these movies? Type online or audience in the comments down below.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Avatar Fire and Ash surpassed the $1 billion mark in global box office revenue, about $306 million domestically and $777 million internationally just
Damn.
weeks after its release.
Damn.
This marks director James Cameron's fourth film to hit the $1 billion threshold, joining Titanic, the first Avatar, and Avatar Way of the Water. The Avatar series has now grossed over $6 worldwide across its 3 films, solidifying it as one of cinema's biggest franchises. In 2025 overall, Fire and Ash ranked among the year's top global grossing films alongside Zootopia, also $1+ billion, and Lilo and Stitch. What was James Cameron really worried about? Despite Fire and Ash ultimately hitting the $1 billion mark, Cameron publicly expressed concerns leading up to its release and even afterward for several reasons. The box office performance pressure. Cameron admitted he was nervous about how the movie would perform, something he says he feels before every release. Fire and Ash had a strong but slower opening weekend than some blockbuster expectations, prompting questions about his future total gross and staying power. Early industry analysts are speculating whether it could replicate the historic gigantic totals of its predecessors. Avatar Fire and Water grossed $2.9 billion. That's nearly 3, and $2.3 billion respectively. The underlying worry wasn't just passing the $1 billion mark, was whether it could continue to climb toward the very, very high expectations set by the franchise. The future for the sequels 4 and 5. One of the biggest concerns for Cameron was whether Fire and Ash would be successful enough to justify making parts 4 and 5 of the planned saga. Reports indicated that Cameron had hinted that the continuation of the story beyond Fire and Ash depended on the box office results, meaning if performance fell short, those sequels would not be greenlit. Some interviews and fan discussions suggested Cameron was even prepared to end the story or resolve it as a book if the theatrical performance didn't justify more films. This worry stems from not just hitting $1 billion, but making sure enough of the profit margin to warrant the massive investment. The audience's fatigue and expectations, says industry analysts and outlets, noted that Fire and Ash faced questions over audience enthusiasm, especially from multiple Avatar movies over many years, whether people would rush out opening weekend like other major franchises, i.e. Star Wars, Marvel. Historic behaviors Cameron's movies don't always follow, sustaining box office momentum beyond early holiday crowds in December and January. Cameron's movie model often builds slowly over weeks rather than exploding opening weekend, but that takes patience and doesn't always calm early box office. Why his concerns even matter? James Cameron isn't just thinking about one film. Avatar is planned as a larger saga with sequels already sketched out and partially filmed. The scale, cost, filmmaking commitment behind these movies is enormous. So even $1 billion plus doesn't totally automatically mean ongoing studio and director confidence without strong long-term revenue and audience engagement. Smaller returns compared to previous installments, even if still huge by industry standards, can raise strategic questions. Where do we go next? Is the investment worth going into? Pretty much, is the juice worth the squeeze. Box office performance expectations. He was nervous about how audience would respond and whether total gross would match franchise highs. Sequels continuation. Future films production hinges on Fire and Ash, proving its commercial viability. Audience fatigue and sustaining momentum. Slower opening put pressure on long-term performance. The profit margins. The dreaded margin numbers. Big films need huge profits, not just big gross, to justify their costs. And of course, his creative satisfaction versus expectation. Cameron historically pushes technological and narrative boundaries and cares about the culture impact, not just dollars. Bottom line, Avatar Fire and Ash
Finally.
did gross 1 billion, a major commercial success and another box office crown for Cameron. The director's worrying was less about whether it earned a billion, but more about whether it would earn enough to keep the rest of the saga alive, fulfilling his massive creative, financial, and technological ambitions. I'm gonna say this right now. I don't know why the fuck all these films need to be made. The first film sufficed enough. It's blue people, it's other people doing shit. It was a technological marvel when the first one came out all these years ago, and now he wants 4 sequels. Why did it take so long? But hey, clearly I'm wrong because these films are making billions. Billions. That one movie made almost 3. But I do understand his constant worrying because Disney is who's backing him on this. And Disney right now is a little bit in turmoil. So that profit margin, not just the billions, but it's sustaining itself. I can understand that because right now, as my cousin puts it ain't panning out. Hey, you getting cut.
Yeah, like I said in my last video, and I really don't think this movie crossing $1 billion changed anything that I said in the last video. That I feel like all the pressure was coming from Disney because Disney has been taking so many L's with Marvel. Like they needed this movie to be received well, one, and then to two, make a bunch of money. And let me tell you, this movie still needs to continue on to gross over $2 billion for Disney to really think of this as a win. These Avatar movies cost a lot of money and a lot of time to Disney. So let me just tell you, just because it crossed a billion doesn't mean it's looked at as a success from Disney. This thing needs to at least match the Way of the Water, which was almost $3 billion. So this movie still has a lot and long way to go. And I'm shocked that the international performance has outdone the domestic. I don't know if that's traditionally how it's went for the other Avatar movies, but that huge gap in between each other, it was kind of eye catching or ear catching. I feel like that Disney put a lot of emphasis to the maker of this franchise. Like, hey, buddy, we're not paying for shit that's not going to 3x our money in profit. So I'm sure all the pressure, especially for this one, was coming from Disney because look at Disney, the year that Disney had in 2025, taking so many L's in Marvel movies and other stuff in the streaming service, and they're having to increase the streaming service prices. Like, yes, this movie had to make money, and it still needs to go on to make more money before it's looked at as a success from Disney. You could say $1 billion is a lot, but like I said in my last video, Disney's forced Spider-Man to get $1 billion, and I don't think that movie was good enough for $1 billion. So they do things, to get movies to $1 billion, but you can say, hey, they didn't get the Marvel's movies to make that. Yes, because I just think it was overly fatigued. No one cared. After Robert Iron Man was off, people was really disdain with the product, and I think that really did hurt Marvel more than they realized. And which is why they brought him back, little desperate bunnies. But anyway, I think the pressure is still very much very real from Disney. $1 billion is not enough in Disney's eyes, and I think I said that in the last video. This thing needs to do upwards of $3 billion for Disney to be like, all right, we'll give you the last two or whatever you said, because they are really looking at the books. They're not about to fund something that probably cost them over $500 million to make. And then how long the time investment is. So they really are putting up this money probably 3 years before this thing hits theaters. So yeah, congratulations to Avatar Fire and Ash that it's crossed $1 billion, but it still needs to continue on, I think, for it to really get greenlit for the rest of the movies. But where it stands right now, it's great. It's good for them. They're on the right track, but they still got a long way to go. But let us know how you feel about this topic. This is a proof that the internet sometimes don't know what the fuck they're talking about, though, because we really thought this was going to be dead on arrival. Well, a lot of people, let me rephrase that. A lot of people were saying this movie was dead on arrival, and now it's pulled $1 billion over the holiday time frame. So a lot of times the internet blows things up, like I said in the intro, but the casual moviegoers don't pay attention to none of that. They don't care, because why? They need to take their kids somewhere for 2 hours where they can get some peace and quiet from the mayhem. So kudos to Avatar Fire and Ash. Let me know if you went and seen it. I did see a few reviews saying it really didn't make sense. A lot of some stuff. I haven't seen it. I don't know, but let us know in the comments if you saw it, or if you didn't see it, and why. And if you did see it, was it good, or was it worth the money or not? And do you look forward to sequels to come if this movie does cross the number threshold that it needs for Disney? Let us know in the comments down below.
I do want to add one thing that you brought up with the Disney thing. People don't realize, because you said a few years investment. This goes back to 2020 during COVID. Before the world went to a downward spiral, it was set for these films to come out 1 year after another. The first sequel, I believe, was supposed to be in either 21 or 22. And then after that, each December, a new film would come out. So Disney already had a huge investment in this. So I get what you're saying. Like, hey, from the things that's happened from then up till now and the landscape they're in, hey, you need to prove for this investment to work through. Otherwise, hey, this can go off and be what it was beforehand, a nice, cool, distant memory. And then that's why he felt the books would be an idea. But that was all I just wanted to add. And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, Are You Not Entertained?